Today on the Self Smarter podcast.
What is the goal here? And
Right.
the goal is to create a feedback exchange that is helpful for this individual and that they get excited about instead of you're like, oh no, like the
Here she
leader's
comes, yeah.
dreading it and the person's dreading it.
Hi, we're Danelle and Megan, the hosts of this conversation-centric podcast for leaders seeking to be better every day. Whether you choose to be a leader in the workplace, at home, or in your community, we believe the most effective leaders are equipped to not only be self-starters, but self-smarter.
Hello, and welcome to Self Smarter. I'm Megan, and this is my friend and co-host, Danelle.
Hi, everyone.
Y'all, it is the most beautiful day
It's gorgeous.
in New York City.
It's beautiful. I don't even think it's 60 degrees.
No.
And there's not a cloud in the sky.
Ugh, it's just beautiful. I love it here in the fall. I love it here always, but the fall is just extra special. And we have no big plans this weekend, so
None whatsoever.
Zero. We're not
Zero.
doing anything here. We just passed by Madison Square.
And
You freaked me out
I did.
because we do actually have big plans this weekend.
We do, and I'm sure we probably talked about it before, but we're going to talk about it again. But so we're driving over to the studio. We drive past Madison Square, and I look at Meg, and I go, I mean, we're seeing Brandi Carlile tomorrow night. It's one of her final shows, on this tour, and we've already seen her
so many times.
Yeah, so many times. But Madison Square, and I was like, Megan, she's probably in there right now.
Right. And that freaked me out.
Yeah, Brandi and Kath are in there with the twins, and here we are this close
And
to
their
them.
family. Yeah, like
their
the
family.
kids.
The kids are running around. I wonder if they need help. We could stop by, knock on the door.
Don't tease me. I will totally go and be like, Brandi,
Yes.
let me set up your camera. I don't know. Like, I'll do anything.
Camera.
I don't know. She
I don't
needs
know.
a
Anyway,
camera.
we're so excited to. I've never been to Madison Square. Have you?
I haven't either. No. This will be my first
so
time.
This will be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And y'all, she usually will bring someone special out to join that could be a local or someone, So we don't know who that's going to be or if that's going to happen.
Oh, but we do.
But we do have a wish.
We have a wish list.
We do.
Well, who's your top pick for a surprise guest with Brandi?
I think it's going to be Alicia Keys.
Okay. Well, I'm hoping that's the case, but the backup would be Jennifer Nettles.
Oh.
I mean, can you imagine?
I haven't even thought about that, but
that
yes.
song from her album.
Yes.
Oh gosh, what's the song?
They would sing something
from Bridges from Madison County. That song.
Oh yeah,
from that musical.
Yeah,
or that play or whatever it was. No, it must have been a musical. Anyway, super excited to see Brandi, and I know she's going to. And I'm also extra excited. I know you are too. Is that this is Mackie's first time getting to see Brandi Carlile.
Okay, so here's the deal. I'm not going to be able to focus on the concert because I'm going to be staring at Mackie's response
to the
performance.
I know. And I think it's going to
be
be
like,
so
"Would you
different
stop
for
looking
us
at
too.
me?"
But I think it's going to be so different for us too, because when
Yeah,
we saw
probably.
our Red Rocks, I mean, that environment itself is just part of the
Yes.
show.
Yes.
Whereas at Madison Square,
was
I
a
mean, it's an
character.
arena, and it's a famous one, but it's still an arena. So I think her performance is going to impact us just a little bit differently. So we'll be sure.
Ooh,
I'm sure you all know what's coming in a future music moment.
Yeah. Get ready.
Another riff.
Yeah, New York Brandi. This is going to be the New York version. So,
Absolutely.
all right. Well, today we're talking about something that's really weighing heavy on everyone's minds, and that is annual reviews.
Oh gosh,
I know.
How did you get this in front of me?
You know what?
No.
It's
important.
It is. And it's one of those things like if we're going to be self-smarter, we really should talk about it. So
Yes.
we'll do that right after this commercial. You guys, I was recently at a cocktail hour when the subject of websites came up. And do you know what someone asked me? They asked me if websites even matter. I'm here to tell you the short answer is a yes. And here's the great news. Nowadays, you can get a fully custom website from DMA around $10,000 to $12,000. That's right. We've unlocked the ingredient to getting businesses the custom style and functionality that they need for a very reasonable investment. Email us at info@dma-solutions.com and we'll get your website moving forward for 2023. Alrighty, I know this sort of feels drabby, and I know I said that already, but I think people really do need help with this. Whoever in the history ever said, I can't wait to attend this annual review, whether like I'm getting it or I'm giving it, right? So how do we make this better for people? That's the point. And I remember when I started working with you 15 years ago at DMA, I begged you for this.
You sure did.
I mean, begged.
I mean, and what's interesting is that, you know, I never believed it. We didn't have them where I had worked.
Okay.
I mean, maybe we had some version, but I don't remember it. And so I never. I
You
just was
blocked
like,
that out.
well, yeah, I was like, aren't we giving each other feedback in the moment? That's probably why y'all wanted a review, because I was probably a little rough with that, with the feedback. If you relating to our previous episode on Care-frontation. Anyway, I started to. You all told me, like, we want
Feedback.
formal reviews. And so, yeah, boy, that was probably about, well, that came out of my 26% approval rating. That was one of the things is that y'all wanted formal reviews. And so, you know, in true fashion, I decided to do it up big.
I know. And it's like at DMA, everything was done the hard way. Not because we wanted to,
No.
because we had to, right? Like we were gritty and it was just a very small handful, you, and then Marcy, and then the rest of us. So,
and then the tools that we referred to were big corporate, you know, it was examples from corporations. And so it wasn't like we had,
well,
and it was form-based.
It was, and then you and I created one.
No, I know.
Okay,
which I thought was the right thing.
Right.
Was that this big corporate annual review example is not going to work for us, so we'll create our own.
Please tell them. Please, let's go back in time and let's talk about our old annual reviews. What were those like?
Well, the first one, I mean, listeners, listen to this. Like the first review that Meg and we worked on this thing.
I mean, months.
A long time. It was 12 pages. I'm not kidding.
Like
12 full pages.
Full pages.
So therein lies, I mean, an obvious
nightmare.
Like how did like we were just.
We got
in
a lot
my
to
head.
say.
I was like, they want a review. We're gonna.
I'm going to give it to them good.
Review. And I remember I was so proud of this. I remember this came to me during a run, and I couldn't wait to get home and write it down. But it was, there were 5 sections of this review, of this 12-page review, and it was called AEIOU, because attitude and effort were always core to DMA, and our culture was attitude and effort. And then I started thinking about, well, how are we going to remember? We need an acronym, AE, and then I was like, IOU. And so then it was input, output, and then YOU was the U.
Yes.
And so there was a whole section that you could write about what your professional and personal goals were for the coming year, because this was geared to be once, every 12 months. So, and then we had, each section had categories for which people were measured. And so I wanted it to be qualitative.
Yes.
And quantitative.
Yes.
So there was, qualities like approach, professionalism, stress management, respect, communication style, and there was a rating system that mirrored it. And I think there was like
5. It was like satisfactory to, or very satisfactory down to unsatisfactory.
Anyway.
So it was so much.
So then the first time we did it, we had everyone in the company fill it out, and no. The first time we did it,
wrote all of them.
We wrote all of them,
and so then listen to this. We did everybody's all this
yes.
Everybody at the company got one within 2 weeks' time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, those things took hours to write because we had so many things.
Right, and we were doing the writing.
Yeah.
And so then we're sitting down in front of someone with 12 pages of feedback. I mean, we're exhausted.
Like, we're over them at this point. Like, I'm over you. Like, can we just move on?
It was awful. And then I'm just literally people, and then there was an average. So most people were between 3.5 and 5. But no one was a 5.
No, ever.
And so because I was like, you have to have something to work on.
Yes.
Well, if they weren't getting a 5s, I mean, people were pissed.
They were pissed.
I mean, it was tried. And I just remember thinking, we have spent so much time and energy.
And they hate it.
And we were thinking more about the process of the review versus what is going to help this person.
That's right. No Care-frontation.
No Care-frontation. And so what we ended up doing is we said, okay, well, we'll still use this masterpiece, this 12-page masterpiece we created, but now we're going to have them fill it out.
Yes.
And so then we ended up hating it.
It.
It was
fluffy.
Fluffy, and it was subjective, and
Yes.
it wasn't about any, like, I was frustrated because I'm like, well, what do we have to work on? Well, it looks like we're perfect here. And so we were frustrated. So they were frustrated the first go round, and then we were frustrated as leaders. And
By year 3.
by year 3, literally, it took us 3 years to work through this process. And
Then we stopped.
No, completely. I was like, done. Bye. No more reviews. So
Year 3, it was gone.
it was so painful. And then we started to realize, and this is, if you listen to episodes 2 and 3, where we talk about how we really started to reconstruct our culture, when we really understood what culture means, we started to really think about people. We cared about these people. We were
Yeah.
trying to do the right thing.
Right.
But we were almost taking advice from almost this HR community of,
And we're not HR people.
No, we're not.
No.
And so then when I just started to really think, what do we really want people to know? And I was like, first of all, I can't stand that we're giving formal feedback once a year.
Yeah.
Like,
that's the worst.
how's that person going to grow?
Yeah.
We want people to grow
Quick.
like, we want them to develop
Yeah.
and work towards being the best marketers, because that's what we do at DMA Solutions, but also better versions of themselves. And so we said, what would be most helpful? Well, what's most helpful is not a form that's 12 pages with a rating system. That's not helpful. But what is helpful is helping someone understand where they're winning, where they're growing, and where development needs to begin,
Right.
or some area. And I remember the first times and this is something, and she'll talk about the difference for the different roles that we have in the company, because we have both progress plans and development plans. But what I realized, I don't think I've ever given one, like where I fill out the information, because by this time you were leading the company and with the rest of the leadership team.
Yeah.
And not lead. I mean, I was
Yeah.
still involved with the business, but not this aspect of it. And what we said is, okay, where are you winning, where are you growing, where development is needed? What I started to realize is, at first, the winning and the growing sections were longer. And I was like, we need the growing and the development areas to be where the bulk of the feedback is coming, because this person needs to get, we want them to continue to, like I said earlier, grow and develop. So we had to work through a little bit of the nuance there, and honestly get leaders ready and comfortable with focusing on where someone needs to grow, like where they need to get better, or quite frankly, learn a new discipline within the role, or a role that they're trying to get to. So once we got our arms around that, and then she'll talk about how the frequency, and then once we realized that, wait a minute, we're not going to wait.
Right.
We're not going to wait once a year and do these all at once, because even in that, even though, say, we would have gotten, the actual form part, the that part right away, the fact that they're waiting for a year, it's like something you just dread.
Yes.
Versus, and I said, because I remember us talking about it, it's like, what is the goal here? And
Right.
the goal is to create a feedback exchange that is helpful for this individual, and that they get excited about,
Right.
instead of, you're like, oh no, like the
Here she
leaders
comes, yeah.
dreading it, and the person's dreading it. And I think if you polled our company right now,
Oh, they love it.
I mean, I get the,
Or at least that's what they tell me.
no.
But, and it's everyone, everyone gets it at the
Know,
company.
based on the quality of the exchange.
Oh,
that they love
absolutely.
it.
They
So-
thank us by the end.
Yes,
It's
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 great.
really good. And it has worked for us. So I do want to talk a little bit more about the way that they go, so that if listeners are needing this, or they're
Yes.
seeking help here, this is something that they could potentially put into motion. Because listen, this thing has been working for us for almost 10 years.
No, 6 years.
No?
No, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wait.
No, that
no,
doesn't
you're
make
right.
sense. It's 6
6
years.
years.
Yes.
My
Her
bad.
math is off.
Well, okay. Yeah, because those first 3 years we stumbled.
We did.
Really badly. You're right.
Correct.
That my math is not good. Okay. All right. So tell us how it works, Danelle. How does the progress plan work?
I mean, everyone at the company obviously has a leader that's working with them. And then when someone starts at DMA, we give about a 60 to 90 day period to acclimate before we give them their first progress plan or
That's
development plan
Right.
if they're a director or above, or managers or above.
Mm-hmm.
So these are done so that the leader has the opportunity to dive into behaviors and witness areas where they are winning. I mean, you can't
That's right.
evaluate someone, but we also don't want to wait too much past 90 days because we think that that's a critical period for someone to know
Yes.
and to have a documented discussion
Yes.
around what they need to work on. So, and then, these feedback sessions usually last, and again, progress plans or development, usually an hour, hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And they're attended by the person receiving the progress plan, obviously, and then the leader and or, Hannah and Megan also.
Mm-hmm.
Are y'all on every one?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Every single one.
So if you think about it, you're getting not just feedback from your direct leader at the company, but you're getting it also from Megan and then also Hannah, our director of people. So,
and she works with them a lot beyond the progress plan on those things that are discussed.
Correct. And we mentioned this before, but we have monthly. So first of all, everybody in the company has a one-on-one with their leader once a week. There's that. Then you have what we call CTI meetings, so continuing to improve. And usually their progress plans that are quarterly, if depending on their role, and or every 6 months, that's being discussed in the weekly or the monthly meetings with Hannah, what we call continuing to improve. So I know that sounds like a lot, but I'm telling you, it's one of the main things that we did at our company when we decided we are about people and their growth and development. We had to commit to it operationally. And again, we had the best intentions from the get-go, but it took us a while to get to a point to where we had a process that was really in benefit of everyone involved. And then ultimately, when you get that part right, then the company benefits. Right. But you got to get this part down first. And so that's how it works.
Yeah. I mean, when someone's having one for the first time, they're nervous. Like they come in, I can see it. I can feel it. Like people come into it and they're nervous. But once they have one, now they realize it is an example of Care-frontation.
Yes.
Because we go into those meetings, we establish trust really quickly, like Danelle said, after those 90 days, 60 to 90 days. And then they know, okay, from now on, you're going to have one of these every 3 months, no matter what. And we're just going to keep talking to you about these things.
Yeah, and I think the reason why people are anxious about it is there's mainly two reasons. We're either hiring someone out of college, and maybe they've worked some jobs before, but they're nervous because they're used to getting graded. And they, I think there's just, it's hard to realize that this is not a grading system, which I think is why our first attempts were so, the obvious 12 pages, but our ranking system, and we don't do that anymore. And then, or they've worked at another company, if they're coming in with some experience and it's been a dreadful experience for them. So they're anxious about, I'm going to get this every quarter. Oh, this is not cool, until they realize, wait a minute. And, they start to see how it is for them.
Yes.
And I that's not hard to see right out of the gate. So I think that's why people are a little bit anxious at first.
Sure. I mean, it goes back to that. I have to be right. And I worry about not making the top grades, like you just said. So this seems weird, but after that initial one, it's over.
Yeah, no.
It's over forever. I mean, they're thanking us. Yes. And I've been looking forward to this, and here are my notes. And, it's like just so refreshing.
So it's not awkward.
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. Like, it's refreshing. Everyone like ends on the same page, on the same note, like rallying around this person. And then we weave it into other aspects. So if other leaders know Megan needs more new business development help, like she needs some experience there, then Mackenzie knows that, that, Hannah knows that, Lauren knows that. And so whenever new business opportunities come up for the business, they're going to invite me to come along. They're going to invite me to get something started. And so we can talk through how to make that happen. So anyway, there's a lot of after that comes from just these meetings.
Okay.
Really what they have become is just very helpful tool. Okay, let's talk about the difference between the progress plan and the development plan. You've mentioned that a couple of times. And so just in case our listeners are wondering, the progress plan, like Danelle said, is rooted in where the person is winning. So easy. Where the person is winning, where the person is growing, and where the person is developing. And we will have, several statements that we're talking about into there. And here's the best thing about them. No one should be surprised.
That's right.
No one should be surprised. So usually when we're going through the where you're growing and where you're developing, first of all, it's not like a backhanded anything. It's totally rooted in care and growth and help. And they're always like, yeah, I know. I totally do that. Or I totally need to work on that or whatever. So it's very agreeable. They're every 6 months, and those are specifically for specialist level team members, and they are prepared by the leader.
Okay.
So I don't prepare those. They're prepared by the leader of the person. Okay. Then there's the development plans. And this is also rooted in winning, growing, and developing. But the big difference here is they happen every 6 months and they prepare them themselves. This is for people who are manager level at our company or above. We are not writing. So many people lead our business. Like really, it takes, a village.
Yes.
They really have to know how to lead themselves before I can know how to lead them. And so they know our core values. They know what we stand for. And so they are almost giving themselves an assessment. No, they are. They're giving themselves an assessment based on how they are doing as a leader at our company. They take a look at Hungry, Humble, Smart. They give themselves ratings on that. And we all talk about that very openly. Like, yeah, I agree with you. I think humility is where you're probably struggling right now. That's an example of something that we would do. So they are just really so the ownership being on the person to write it and address themselves. They're almost like teaching us about them versus in the progress plans, we're teaching them to get comfortable with them and who they are and what they need to work on. So they go really well. I know you found some cool stats.
I did. And one of the things I wanted to add to what you're saying there is that by the time sometimes we hire, managers or directors but a lot of the times we're hiring in specialists.
Yes. And growing
in a more frequent
basis.
Yes, exactly. And so they've already gone through the progress plans.
Right.
They've had usually a lot of those.
A lot of them. Well, 3 years worth.
Well, it depends on where they come in. But I think that's what's important is that they have been through the process so much with progress plans that by the time they're they're creating their own development plans, they're in a position to really thoughtfully think about their own development, and they know the organization so well, they know what the business needs. And that's what I love about, because we weren't giving our directors and managers, we realized in this positive part of the journey that we needed something different. And I was like, and that's when we had the discussion. I said, I think it should be them. They should be creating their own quote unquote, we don't call them reviews, but the development plans. And I think that's been a good path for us to go. If I look at the quality that is coming, because at first we didn't know how that was going to be. Are they going to take this seriously? Are they going to is it a bunch of fluff? And it's not. And that's what I love about it. And again, I think that has a lot to do with our culture and a lot of the other areas that we are working so intently and on. But some of the stats that I found that I think will be helpful for our listeners who are really trying to, I'm guessing we're going to get feedback on this. People are going to reach out to us on this particular episode because I do think that this is a sore spot. And no matter what side of if you're having to fill these darn things out, or if, you're struggling in your organization because they're not as helpful as they could be. So we welcome that. But some stats that I found interesting are 92% of employees want feedback more often than just once a year. Well, we can tell you that for sure the
check.
Case. Yes,
true.
Check. Yeah, and if they felt they received an unfair performance review, 85% of the employees would consider quitting. We know that to be true.
Yep.
And then 77% of human resource leaders say annual reviews are not an accurate representation of an employee's work. And it's true. Like, think about it, because if you're the leader's filling out this form and you're having to go back and reflect on a year, good for somebody who can remember all of that. But anyway, I think that's kind of a big miss with traditional performance reviews.
Yeah, and not only are the people who are receiving, like that was basically what you were just talking about, was like the people who receive it don't like it.
Right.
Well, I have some stats here that the people who are giving them hate it too. So
Yeah, not surprised.
that's right. So 58% of executives believe their current performance review system doesn't result in increased performance or engagement. That was by Deloitte.
Oh, okay.
As reported by Deloitte. And then 70% of companies are reconsidering their performance strategy altogether. That was from a company called Burson. So what if we just simplified the process? I think that's really the point of this whole episode is if you are still stuck in annual review hell, consider making it something simpler.
Yeah, I mean, I think we overcomplicate these things. In general, when we realized is that people just want to know what they're doing well. Of course they want to know what they're doing well. Who doesn't?
That's right.
And they want to know what they need to do to progress. And that is where the developing and the growth piece of it is very helpful.
Yes.
It's like you're already down the path in this particular area, but you still here's some ways to get even better at that or to improve or whatever it may be. And then here are some areas that you just now need to start learning.
Yes.
And that's the areas where I think people get the most, again, what you're doing well is important and it's critical because you want that person to be able to keep doing that, but then also eventually start to transfer that knowledge to others in the organization. And then, but what we want is they want to, the reason we're doing this is because of growth.
Yeah.
Well, you got to have some information and know how to do that. And so from a leadership perspective, I think we overcomplicated it.
Yeah.
We did, and I think
We
that
certainly
happens
did.
in general.
Right.
And then you know, if you're in an organization, the fix it from HR is a form.
Yeah.
And this is more of a document. It's almost like a roadmap. The way, and we didn't overcomplicate it. We got rid of all the complication, and it became the most sophisticated thing we could have done for our team members and quite frankly ourselves. And so, again, that's my biggest advice is to really just think about what do you want someone to know so that they can grow.
Yeah, faster. I mean, I keep saying faster, but it's just more fluidly. Like, you know, let's not wait a year to help somebody. Like, let's help somebody out now, like right now.
And I think to a lot of companies, we did the same thing is that they tie performance reviews to compensation.
They do.
And that's an ultimate no-no.
No, yeah.
That's at least in our experience. And then I think that's becoming more commonplace too, is that companies realize that performance reviews and compensation should not be
Go hand in hand.
Could not go hand in hand. Yeah. And then what I'd like to add too is here's some stats that confirm why the frequency that we learned to be true is that 80% of employees prefer immediate feedback to annual reviews. And then managers who received feedback on their own strengths showed an 8.9% greater profitability for the organization.
There it is.
So these, again, the frequency feedback does need to happen in the moment. And, you know, we have multiple episodes where we've talked about that. However, giving a documented, almost, again, like we think of them as roadmaps for this individual to get better. And then again, and it not always coming from a place of improvement, like there's something wrong, but literally really learning more. And we know that requires frequency too. So it's, yes, the verbal feedback is in the moment, but that can be reconfirmed also in a more frequent manner than an annual review. At least that's what our truth and our organization has benefited from.
It is. And I wondered when we were preparing for this if it was generational, like if there were any generational differences. So I also found, according to Bamboo HR, 28% of millennials want to have their review quarterly, or 38% prefer annually. 58% of baby boomers want to keep them annually.
Well, that's all they've ever known.
I know. So let's not change. But listen to this.
Okay.
63% of Generation Z said they want to hear timely, constructive performance feedback throughout the year. That's from a poll of 1,400 Gen Zers from the International Intern Leadership Conference.
Ooh, all right.
Isn't that cool? So
the
Gen
next generation
Z,
coming in are going to have
they want it.
expectations.
And for us right now, with the bulk of the progress plans that we're doing, they are Generation Z. And the development plans are a mix of Gen Z and Millennial and Gen X.
Yep. Okay. I think it's interesting too, if I think about because the way we've talked about this is our forms were a mess and our approach, our frequency, it wasn't the right, we didn't have the right cadence that really benefited the employee, but the team member. But if I think about it, if you think about whatever you want to call it, a review, we call them plans.
Yeah.
And they're in the form of a map. If you think about it as a way to build trust, like if you're thinking about it from that lens, then you're like, is our process fostering trust and confidence in our team members? And if you can't answer that with a yes, then there's some work to be done. And then that would be my a takeaway of what, looking back, if we would have done that from the get-go versus all I did was focus on, they want an annual plan, I'm going to go create one. And I knew I didn't want to take something from some big organization, but I pretty much created an even worse version of that. But that being said, again, if you think about it as a tool for fostering trust and confidence in someone, then, build it from there.
That's right.
Yeah.
In other words, what I'm hearing you say is, let's say I work for a company where human resources typically helps me facilitate and conduct these things. What you're suggesting is you may have to do that. You can also do this.
That's right.
This is something as a leader that you could do sort of sidebar just to keep the conversation going throughout the year if you're already on an annual plan.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's a good tactical call to action for our listeners. So that's great. Okay. Let's get away from the annual reviews forever.
Forever. They're done.
Yeah. And let's talk about music.
Right.
I'm excited about this because I did want to talk about this a little bit last time, but you surprised me and I was so grateful.
Oh.
Yes, for Michael Jackson's performance, and we're going to report on that soon.
Yes.
So I'll hold the excitement there. But in addition to that, you have a lot of music moments happening here in New York.
Yes.
Just in the next week, I just thought, like, if you were we talked about one at the top.
Yeah.
With Brandy.
Brandy.
So then what about after Brandy?
And the after Brandy is Broadway Inspirational Voices concert.
Yes.
And then Melissa Etheridge has a residency here in
oh, look, y'all are like twins.
I just don't think I think it's the voice. I think it's the voice.
You
not
your
the
voice
likeness.
Definitely, but y'all both have a residency. That's what I was talking
Oh,
about.
I thought you meant look alike.
No.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, super excited. And that's one of the things I love about this city is just there's always any number of things to do, but the music scene here is just incredible. And what I love about it is it's not just a type of music. It's all types of music.
Wonderful.
And the venues, whether they're the famous ones or just the live music that's around town and in the smaller places is just amazing. And I don't know, I've always thought of New York as being an entertainment town, but the music scene, I didn't know much about it beyond, the big concerts. So I'm really enjoying getting to know that part of the city. And so while some of these that we just rattled off that we're going to be attending in the next couple of weeks, those are kind of big deals, but I'm also enjoying the lesser known artist, but that will, in my opinion, a lot of them will be very well known someday.
Which is so neat.
Yes.
Like that you're here at the beginning of their journey potentially.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm really enjoying it and I'm so excited about, these experiences we're going to share together. So I'm very excited.
Me too. So
Yay.
much fun. All right, so y'all heard it here from the front row seat, okay? Danelle's got a lot cooking, and so we're going to have a lot of stories to share with y'all on future episodes.
Yes.
Okay, let's bring our annual reviews to a close.
Forever.
And let's think about our future and what's coming in the next few weeks with interviews that you're going to be having. We talked about that last week.
Yes, guests.
Yes. And so we're so grateful that you all are here. Remember, we'll have links, especially to these statistics that we shared today in the show notes. So you can take those to HR and share those with them for data.
Yes.
And until next time, y'all, we send you to the week with grateful hearts.
Goodbye, everyone.
As always, you can connect with us on Instagram and Facebook at Self Smarter Podcasts. You can also leave a rating or review if you enjoyed what you heard today. Not only does this mean so much to us, but it also helps other leaders and future leaders find our community. Thank you for taking time out of your day to join us in becoming Self Smarter. This podcast is produced by Snacks Media and music is from a free platform. Well, that is until Brandy Carlisle reaches out to us to write the original score for our podcast. Friends, have a great rest of your day.